She walked out. Left me alone with 2 children. $30 in my wallet. And a dream everyone said was foolish. Investors laughed at me. My business partner betrayed me. My bank account hit zero. And just when I thought I had lost everything, a woman with tired shoes and fearless eyes changed the direction of my life. What happened next turned humiliation into billions, pain into purpose, and a broken home into a legacy. But the real twist? It was not the money. Stay with me. Because this is not just a success story. It is a lesson that could change your life. The night she left, the house felt louder than a storm. 2 small suitcases by the door. 2 confused children gripping my legs. And her silence, colder than the winter wind outside. I am sorry, she said. But sorry does not feed children. Sorry does not pay rent. The door closed. And I stood there. A grown man. Terrified of tomorrow. I had $30 in my wallet. A failing startup. Debt that tasted like metal in my mouth. I washed dishes at midnight. Delivered groceries at dawn. Built my software in the thin hours between. My hands cracked from detergent. My eyes burned from screens. My pride bled quietly. Investors laughed at me. One called me delusional. Another said I should find real work. I believed them for 1 week. Then she appeared. Not my wife. She was gone. This was Amina. A schoolteacher with tired shoes. And eyes that saw straight through excuses. She met me at a parent meeting. Saw the shadows under my eyes. Heard the tremor in my voice. You are not failing, she said softly. You are being forged. Forged. No one had ever called my pain purposeful. She brought soup when I was sick. Sat beside me while I coded. Corrected my business plan with red ink. And fierce patience. When I wanted to quit, she held my face in her hands. And made me look at my children. They are watching, she whispered. Teach them strength. So I worked. Through humiliation. Through rejection. Through the night my bank account hit zero. Then betrayal struck. My partner stole our prototype. And sold it to a competitor. I felt my lungs collapse. Years erased in a single email. I sat on the kitchen floor. Tile cold against my cheek. And finally wept. Amina did not offer pity. She offered truth. Build again. Build better. Build alone. So I did. From scratch. From rage. From faith. 2 years later. The same investors stood to shake my hand. Our platform scaled globally. Contracts multiplied. Headlines called me visionary. I signed the billion-dollar acquisition. With steady fingers. But wealth was not the victory. The victory was this. Amina standing beside me. Children laughing in a home filled with light. And my former wife watching from across the hall. Eyes wide with disbelief. She saw the man she left. But I was no longer that man. I was built by fire. Guided by love. Saved by a woman who believed. Before the world did. And as I stepped onto the stage. To share the truth behind my success. I saw my son in the front row. Watching me the way I once watched my father. His eyes were steady. Not impressed by the lights. Not distracted by applause. He was studying me. Measuring the man. Against the stories he had heard. About struggle. My throat tightened. I remembered another room. A leaking ceiling. A single bulb flickering above unpaid bills. I remembered promising him. That hunger was temporary. That shame was not permanent. Now cameras flashed. Crystal chandeliers shimmered. My name echoed across the hall. But my hands still remembered. The sting of soap. The ache of lifting crates. The humiliation of rejection emails. I began to speak. Not about valuation. Not about strategy. I spoke about fear. About the night I almost sold my dream. For a stable salary. About betrayal. That hollowed my chest. About pride that had to die. Before wisdom could grow. The audience shifted. This was not the speech they expected. I told them about Amina. How she sold her jewelry. To keep my servers running. How she corrected my anger. Without wounding my dignity. How she loved my children. Before they trusted her. My daughter reached for her hand. Amina squeezed back gently. There it was. The real fortune. Not the zeros in my account. But the trust in their touch. I looked at my former wife. There was regret in her posture. But there was also relief. She saw that the children were safe. After the ceremony, she approached me slowly. I was afraid, she confessed. I did not believe you would rise. Her honesty did not hurt. It healed something old. I was afraid too, I replied. Success had not erased pain. It had refined it. Later that night, after the guests had gone, I stood alone on the balcony. The city glowed beneath me. Amina stepped beside me. You kept your promise, she said softly. The wind carried the scent of rain. I turned to her. Ready to say the words. That had waited years in my chest. The words trembled on my tongue. Not about wealth. Not about gratitude. About fear. I was terrified, I told her. Not of poverty. But of becoming small. She listened the way she always did. Fully. Without rushing my truth. I thought success would silence the doubt, I continued. But it only makes the room larger. The echoes grow louder. Below us, traffic hummed. Distant horns. A restless city chasing its own dreams. Amina rested her head against my shoulder. You are not small, she said. You are responsible. Responsible. The word carried weight. Employees. Families. My children watching every decision. Billionaire. The title felt heavy. Like a coat stitched with expectation. I remembered the night my son asked. Are we going to lose the house? His voice had been thin. Brave, but thin. That question built more discipline in me than any business book ever could. I do not want them to inherit money, I whispered. I want them to inherit strength. Amina lifted her gaze to mine. Then show them mercy, she said. Show them integrity when no one is watching. Her words settled deep. Success had been a mountain. Character was the horizon beyond it. Inside, the children were laughing. The sound drifted through the open door. Warm. Alive. For a moment, I closed my eyes. I felt the cracked tiles of the old kitchen. The sting of betrayal. The hunger. Then I felt this balcony. This peace. This woman beside me. I built the company, I said slowly. But you built the man. She smiled. Not proud. Just certain. My phone vibrated in my pocket. A message from the board. Urgent. I looked at the screen. Then at her. The night shifted. The message was brief. A regulatory investigation. Allegations of data misuse. Our stock already trembling. My pulse slowed instead of racing. This was the test. Not of intelligence. Of integrity. Inside, my children were still laughing. They did not know that markets could turn cruel. In a single morning. Amina watched my face carefully. "Is it serious?" she asked. "Yes," I answered. "And it is honest work we must defend." I remembered my former partner's betrayal. The shortcut he took. The damage it caused. I had sworn then that I would never build on deception. Now the world was questioning that promise. I walked back into the hall. The staff were celebrating. Champagne glasses raised. Music rising. I lifted my hand gently. The room quieted. "There is a challenge ahead," I said calmly. "We will face it with transparency. No anger. No panic. Only truth." Some faces tightened with fear. Others nodded with loyalty. Amina stood near the children. Steady as a lighthouse. Later, in the quiet of my office, I opened the full report. Complex claims. Competitors whispering. Media ready to feed on scandal. Years ago, this would have broken me. Tonight, it strengthened my spine. I thought of the cracked hands. The cold tiles. The empty bank account. If I survived that, I could survive scrutiny. My son knocked softly on the door. "Are we in trouble?" he asked. I knelt to his height. "We are being tested," I replied. "And we will answer with honesty." He nodded, absorbing the lesson. As he walked away, I felt something deeper than fear. Purpose. The investigation could cost billions. Reputation. Comfort. But it could not cost my values. Unless I surrendered them. I turned back to the glowing screen. Ready to make the call. That would define the next chapter of our lives. My finger hovered over the phone. One call could protect the company. Or expose every weakness. The lawyers had suggested silence. Delay. Careful wording. But silence had once nearly destroyed me. I dialed the head of compliance. "Release everything," I said. "All internal audits. All communications. Full cooperation." There was a pause on the other end. "That could hurt us," he warned. "So does hiding," I replied. When I ended the call, my heart pounded hard against my ribs. But it felt clean. Amina stepped into the office quietly. "You chose transparency," she said. "I chose the man I promised to become." She walked closer. Her presence steadying the air itself. "Then whatever comes," she whispered, "you will stand tall in front of your children." Morning arrived sharp and unforgiving. News outlets speculated. Shares dipped. Messages flooded my phone. Former critics resurfaced. Competitors smiled publicly. I felt the old discomfort crawl under my skin. The memory of failure. The sting of humiliation. But I did not bend. By afternoon, independent auditors confirmed it. No fraud. No manipulation. Only procedural gaps already corrected. The market shifted. Slowly. Then sharply. Trust returned stronger than before. Investors praised our openness. Employees stood prouder. And in the quiet of evening, I sat at the dinner table with my family. Simple food. Warm light. Peace earned, not purchased. My former wife sent a brief message. "I see now who you are." There was no bitterness in me. Only understanding. Pain had been my teacher. Love had been my guide. Amina reached across the table. Her fingers brushing mine. "We are just beginning," she said softly. And as I looked at my children, their eyes bright with belief, I realized the next dream forming in my heart. The next dream forming in my heart was not another company, not another valuation. It was a foundation. A place for fathers who had fallen, for mothers abandoned, for children who feared the sound of doors closing. I announced it one quiet Sunday morning. At our kitchen table. No cameras. No applause. Only family. I know what it feels like, I said. To stand in a silent house. And believe you have failed. My son listened carefully. My daughter held Amina's hand. We will build something, I continued. That teaches skill, discipline, and courage. But more than that. It will teach dignity. Amina smiled. The same steady smile she wore when I had nothing. Months passed. We converted an old warehouse into classrooms and workspaces. I walked those concrete floors and remembered washing dishes at midnight. This time, the smell in the air was fresh paint and possibility. Men arrived ashamed. Women arrived exhausted. We did not offer charity. We offered structure, mentorship, accountability. I told them the truth. Success is not money. It is character under pressure. It is choosing integrity. When shortcuts tempt you. Some cried. Some resisted. Most stayed. Years later, I watched graduates hire others. I watched children grow confident. Because their parents stood taller. One evening, as the sun melted gold across the sky, my former wife visited the center. She looked around slowly. You turned pain into purpose, she said. No, I replied gently. We turned pain into purpose. Because without her leaving, I would not have been forced to grow. Without betrayal, I would not have valued honesty. Without Amina, I would not have understood love as strength. That night, standing between the woman who once left and the woman who chose to stay, I felt no bitterness. Only gratitude. I had become wealthy. But more importantly, I had become whole. If there is a lesson in my journey, it is this. Hardship is not the end of your story. It is the furnace.